Welcome back to Living with a Classic, and as you can see, it's a beautiful autumn day here. Sadly, I don't really feel like I can enjoy the weather. I have some bad news, and like you probably saw from the title and guessed from the intro and the thumbnail and all of that, this is not really a video I wanted to make. I wanted everything to work and be fine with this car. I wanted the K-seal thing to work. Worked well for a couple of weeks. However, I have noticed that it's using coolant. And I did a test, and yes, there are hydrocarbons in the coolant. So that's really not good news. I just noticed it a while ago. Let me get my phone out here. I've been keeping track of coolant levels with a date and the mileage and all of that. Let me show you what that looks like. This is pretty much what it looks like. So I started out and started measuring it in the beginning of August. So the first measurement I have is from the 9th of August, and it was about 5.5 centimeters then. And then it went to, it stayed around the same. This is after the video where I basically hadn't noticed any changes for a while. That's the results from then. Then it went down to about 10 days later to 4.5, and it stayed around there. So I thought, okay, not really that big of a deal. Then it was around 5 a couple days later. So I thought, okay, plus minus half a centimeter, we're good. No issues there, and just regular driving and really different types of driving, everything from highway to stop and go traffic to, running from shop to shop in town. It's done pretty much anything. Then on the 24th, I started to notice that it went down to 3.5 centimeters. That's quite a big loss. However, I think I had an external leak then, and I'll show you where it was at the moment. But I'm not 100% sure, because that's also a place where rainwater can sometimes get trapped if it's been raining. So yeah, I'm not sure about that. But I fixed the coolant leak. I've written that in here, fixed the leak and topped it up. And then on the 31st, it was at 4 centimeters. So I thought, all right, that's fine. Then I checked it today, which is, let me see, what is it today? It's the 3rd of September. Checked it this morning. I've always checked in the morning cold where it hasn't run overnight, and we're down to like 2.5, 3 centimeters. So we lost quite a bit of coolant from the last time I drove it, and I drove it quite a long time. Then, well, not long in distance, but just a lot stop and go. But it hasn't gotten hot. It hasn't blown anything out the back, any smoke or anything. So it's probably a very small leak. So I removed a bit of coolant, like I've done so many times before. Put the tester in, and I found that, well, I can roll the clip right here. There's no audio to it, or no commentary. But basically, here's a clip, and you can see the liquid is supposed to be blue. It turned yellow instantly. The first pump, it turned green. Second pump, more yellow. So definitely a lot of hydrocarbons in the coolant. Here's the car, as you probably are very familiar with it if you've been on the channel. So I had one more white wall left to clean up. That was really the plan to do today, but plans changed a bit, and I just didn't feel like anymore after I found the loss of coolant. But we can have a look under here. It's a couple hours ago I did that test. Just been sitting here, been doing other things with the family, and well, like if we have a look at the oil, it's not milky, anything like that. It's nothing weird or anything, and it's been at the correct level. Nothing's happened. It's just been the coolant loss, and I haven't found any external leaks. So I tested it, and yeah, there's a leak there. And well, I guess we'll come to the conclusion a little bit later. But for everyone who's wondering really what's been going on before, there's a lot of videos on this on the channel. There's a whole playlist. I put a link down below. But let's do a little brief sort of synopsis of what's been going on. So the brief thing of what's been going on is I've done 2 head gaskets on this car. I bought it with a blown head gasket. It was very blown, let's say. When it arrived at my house, the friend of mine who drove it here, we're not sure when this happened. I think it'd been leaking for a while. I think it was low on coolant, and then it blew a coolant hose right at my house basically. And then I bought the car of him, and as a project, and just for this channel, replaced the head gasket, had it off, did a bunch of things to the head. Everything seemed fine for, I don't know, a couple months or so. And then it was using coolant. And same thing again, hydrocarbons. I pulled the head and had it sent to the machine shop. It was completely straight before, so we didn't send it to a machine shop then. They verified that the head is straight. However, we skimmed it just to be completely sure, and it went back on. And every single time, I know I checked the block and all of that, and it was as straight as I can check it. It was completely straight. I haven't found any cracks in the top of it or anything like that. This is a Series 3 engine, so it has the slots between, so it's not common for them to crack between the liners at least. And the first time it was apart, again, it had all the studs taken out, and all the studs were pretty much brand new because the engine had pretty much just been apart before I got it. And so cleaned out all the threads, put those in, they were checked, a couple of them were replaced. Everything pretty much looked brand new. It's fine, everything torques down fine. Then it drove all through fall and all through winter, and then right after winter I noticed it was using coolant, and I tried a head gasket sealer just because you guys wanted me to, and it was a fun thing. I tried one I could get locally. It was Rislone's. It did not work, and then I sort of just put the car away. Then I kept getting comments on that video about you should try K-Seal, you should try K-Seal, and also an engine rebuilder. He said, if you haven't tried K-Seal, just before you do anything else, try it. So I ordered some because you can't buy it here locally. It came, flushed the coolant system, added plain water, added K-Seal, and like that, it was cured. It was completely fine for a while. And yet now, about 400 miles later, around, or I'm not sure, it's about 500, 600 kilometers, something like that, it is leaking again. So it did work for a while, but it's not permanent. The head has been pressure checked, so there should be no cracks in that. However, the block has not. So my guess is there is something in the block. Either it's a drop liner. I don't think it is that, because when I had the head gasket off, the second time after the skimming and everything, I could not see any obvious place that it's been leaking. I always get coolant in cylinder 2. That seems to be the problematic one. So most likely there is a crack somewhere in the block. And I mean, this is a guess. I haven't had it apart. Most likely that is, or something similar. And I've checked. It's pretty expensive for me to send off the block and have it tested, and it seems like a waste of money if they're just going to say, well, this block is basically scrap, because there's no one here who mends these old blocks if there's anything wrong. I mean, a crack maybe in the surface someone could weld up, but I haven't even found anyone willing to weld in these old blocks anyway, any machine shop nearby. So that brings us on to the next thing, which is, what am I going to do now? Just a quick side note, it's the next day and I just want to try one thing. After filming yesterday, I was thinking a little bit overnight, especially when I woke up, that maybe it is the K-Seal or something else residue left in the system that's causing the reading. It might not be the case, but I did some Googling and apparently it has happened to some other people with these not that expensive hydrocarbon tests. So I haven't done anything since yesterday. I just drove the car here, just around the house. Here is the coolant, and it's down a little low. It's a little low over there, but I spilled some yesterday, so I'm not really worried about that. But we're going to film in here when I cold start it and see if any bubbles or anything come up here, because especially during cold start, or when it initially starts up, I should see, if I see some bubbles coming up there, it would be a pretty bad sign. So I'm gonna go in the car and crank it over, and you guys let me know if you see any bubbles or anything weird coming out here. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of bubbles there. Just in case that was just some air bubbles in here from the level being a little bit low, the level is up to correct level, or it came up right away. So let's crank it over again, and if I see a lot of bubbles again on startup now, then it is definitely some issue that we had. But let's just try it one more time. And that was a lot of bubbles right away. So what's the plan now? We're going back to basically what the plan was before I tried K-Seal. It's a replacement engine. Either one that seems to be in good condition, I can just use it as is. I am not really that concerned about it being a perfectly restored engine. This is a daily driver car. We're trying to do everything on a budget. I don't feel like rebuilding this one though, because I think there's something majorly wrong in that block. I will save the head and save other things from this engine, but that block, I don't think there's no point. There could be some internal corrosion somewhere, it could be an internal crack, I don't know, but I don't think it's something I would like to spend the money and time rebuilding and have this happen again. Let's just say I just don't like this engine anymore. I will be putting in the same engine. It will be an XK engine. It will be a 4.2. I'm not going the Chevy small block thing. That is a completely different discussion. To each their own. It's not really my idea of the correct thing to do to a car, but if you can't get a hold of an engine, then sure, maybe it's better than them not being on the road. However, where I live in Sweden. It's not like small block Chevys are easy to come by anyways. So it's pretty much as difficult to find one of those as it is to find one of these engines. I do know of a couple of engines, so I will have a look at them. I know of one that's still in a car. And I've had some discussions with the owner ever since the first time this happened, and we've gone back and forth a bit. So I think I will call him up and see if I can have a look at it one more time. I just want to run a compression test on it. If it has pretty even compression, and I mean, there's still coolant in it, it's at the correct level, everything else has been sitting for 5 years, the oil looks clean, everything else, it's decent mileage, it has service history, I will probably use that engine. The car is rusty elsewhere, and it's not, completely registered or on the road, so it is a parts car. So maybe we'll do some type of video on that. Not really sure, but we will have a replacement engine for this car. So for now, I'm going to put this thing in storage, clean it off, put covers on it, and sort of just forget about it for a little bit. There are other cars on the channel. It was just so much fun driving this thing again. I absolutely love driving this thing. I don't know why. I mean, I love all the other cars on the channel, but there's just something about this thing. It's probably the whole thing of having had it apart so much and put it back together. It just feels great driving it. And probably get a bunch of comments of people saying, oh, you've done this and that wrong. Well, maybe I have, but I've had it apart a couple times, and I don't think I've put it together incorrectly. And I don't think it's actually leaking at the head gasket. I think it's leaking somewhere else. And I think the first time around, this car got pretty hot and had pretty much no coolant in it. That was before I bought it. And I think either some damage was done then, or that's when, it looked like something that leaked through on the head gasket, which it looked like on that one. But it might have been another issue. It might have been using coolant for a long time. It's not like you can easily notice that on these cars, because there is no warning on the Series 2 if the coolant level gets low. You just have to check that yourself. So who knows what's been going on. Anyways, like I said, I didn't really want to make this video. I put the question out on Patreon actually. Should I make this video or not? Because it's a bit of a downer. It's almost a little bit repetitive, but I want to be honest with you guys, and guys on Patreon said that as well, that's what they really like about the channel, that I post good, I post bad, I post everything that happens, and that's life. This is a 40, what is it now, like a 46-year-old car, 47-year-old car, something like that, and I'm trying to use it as just a normal car. Things will happen. That engine isn't new. We don't know how many miles are on it. I think it's the third engine in this car, so who knows. But it will live on. It will have a good engine. One way or another, I'll get one. Otherwise, maybe I'll have to make a trip over to the UK to try and pick up an engine, because or pick up parts. I don't know. We will see what happens. But If you do live near to me, if you live somewhere, Sweden, Scandinavia, you do have one of these engines, please let me know. Send me an email. My contact links are down below, and maybe we could work something out. Anyways, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up, share it with your friends. As always, I'd like to thank you for all your support, especially my supporters over on Patreon. It means so much with your support. Thank you very much. Until next time, I'm Adam, and this was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.